know, y'all. Okay, 7:45, and we have a lot to cover, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to let you.
You want me to share?
Okay. Well, you are the first two questions, I think, so I'm going to let you start.
Okay, great.
Because I think you're the first two, if I'm not mistaken. Everybody get the prizes, though, y'all. Prizes. Make sure y'all have filled out for prizes. It's right there in the link.
Okay. Can you see my screen, Karen?
Oh, wait, no. Oh, yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm multitasking.
All right.
There's the link to the presentation as well.
Here is our information. So if you need to get a hold of us or you need to meet with us one-on-one about whatever we go through today or even a previous session, please feel free to come back to this link, give us an email or book us with our little links here, and we'll be glad to Zoom with you or meet with you. Okay, so today we're going to go through fill in the blank, ordering the number line, and highlighting text. Okay, and so what we've done is we've put a sample test in our Schoology course so that you can experience what these test questions look like and how students can manipulate the drag and drop or the different various question types. Okay, so if you will go to our Schoology course, and let me just come over here to Schoology. The way you do that is if you click on courses and you click on my courses over here. Now, if you haven't joined the course before, it's the one that we've used before. If you haven't joined this course, you'll need to put in the code. And here's my internet going real slow.
Oh.
There it is. So you can click join course and enter that code. Or if you already have it, scroll down in your list. I got a lot here, but it's going to say assessments. And so you'll just click on that and you'll be right where you need to be.
Okay.
We are in the digital learning course, okay, our assessments course, and you want to click on the purple folder, the Schoology Assessments Part 4.
Okay, Part 4.
Okay, and then, and mine's not, oh, it's slowly loading, but the first thing you'll see, this is our presentation that we're using, so you always have access to it. But if you will click on the sample assessment for Part 4 and just kind of go through that, doesn't matter if your answers are right or wrong, just kind of go through it and play with the different question types, see what we've done with the question types that we're going over today. Okay, so that was our time. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the fill in the blank. Okay, so there are 3 different ways that you can do fill in the blank. You can do fill in the blank text, you can do fill in the blank drop down, or you can do the drag and drop fill in the blank. And so you saw a question of each of those types in the assessment that you just took. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here to my practice course. And I'm going to show you how I set those up with a test that I already have. So I'm going to just show you this fill in the blank drag and drop of how I set this up. So we've had this happen with several people that they will put in several blanks so that the line is actually long for the response. And that's not what you need to do. When you're building a fill in the blank of any type, all you need is 1 underscore for the blank. Okay, and so if you don't know how to do an underscore, it's the shift with the dash button that's next to the 0. And so here in that first box, I'm just going to hit enter and I'm going to say this is where you And so now I'm going to do a shift and an underscore. And so now it's telling me that I have a response here. So this little response box popped up. And so now you can see in the correct answer setup, I now have a blank box. Okay. And so what I can do for those boxes is do the possible responses. And so I can click here and I'm just going to add blanks. And so now you'll see that I have the word bank and I can just click and drag it to the correct setup. And then I can also click on duplicate responses if I have a correct response that's going to go in more than one blank. Okay. I can choose to do exact match or I can do partial match. I actually prefer to do partial match. And I'm going to show you the partial match formula here in just a second. But once you have typed in, and what I like to do to type in the question setup, I copy and paste it from a Word document, and then I just delete the word that's actually supposed to be in the response and put an underscore. That way it makes it a lot faster. Okay. So I'm going to hit cancel on this one. And I'm going to go back to our presentation and just kind of show you the partial credit. So when you select partial match, it doesn't give you points. It goes off of a percentage. And this is very important to know. So I think that this little piece right here is probably the most valuable. Okay, so what it's going to do is it's going to take the value of the percentage field, so which is 100%. Okay, so when we set up that that test or that test question, in the correct answer setup, it said 100%. Okay, and then you divide it by the number of blanks you had. So in the case that I just did, I had 4 blanks. Okay, and then you times it by the correct responses that the student got. So however many correct answers the student got is right here in this little green text. So if you look down here at the last bullet point, okay, they got 3 correct responses. So they actually got 75% right. So if you value that question at 4 points, they're only going to get 75% of the 4 points. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, it can get a little tricky. So if you're doing a partial credit and a fill in the blank where you've got some blanks, you may want to make that points higher so that it doesn't quite take so much off. Okay. And then I also gave you information on the penalty score. So you can actually set it up when you do a partial match to also take off a percentage by what they missed. So if they missed a question, if they put in an incorrect answer, it's going to take off some points, okay, or a percentage of the total points. Okay, I'm not a big fan of the penalty score, so I'm not going to go through it very much. But here's the information if you need it. Okay. The next one that I want to go through is ordering, and I like this ordering. But before I go through it, I want to show you that there are 3 different ways that you can lay out the answers for an ordering question. So you can choose to have them in button form. So this is the button form right here. Or they can be in list form. So the answers are in list form. And again, they just click and drag it into the correct setup. Okay. Or they could be in line. Now I know I put a question in there that was in line because I had it as part of creating a paragraph, an organized paragraph, and you had to put it in the correct order. And so in that case, I used an inline answer layout. So I'm going to show you that. And I'm going to just click on my ordering question that I've already created. And so again, what you do in the question setup is you put in your directions. And I always like to tell kids if they're clicking and dragging, okay? That way they know what they need to do with everything. Now, the options, right here is where you put in all of the different options that they're going to have to put in the correct order. Now, please don't put this in the actual order that it needs to be in, because if you set it up to where those options are already in the correct order, the students don't have to move anything. And so Schoology recognizes that the students aren't moving anything. So it says, oh, the student actually didn't complete this question. So you want to make sure that you don't actually put the options in the setup in the correct order. You wait until down here at the correct setup. Okay. So what I like to do instead is I like to put things in alphabetical order. So I put all of my options here in alphabetical order. And then when I go to the correct setup, I move them into the correct order. Now, in this one, you'll notice that you have exact match, partial match, or you have a partial pairwise per response. And I like this one a little bit more than the partial match. And I'll show you why. I have a page on that one. But you'll also notice that here's where you can change that layout that I was showing you earlier, where you could have it in button format, list format, or in line. Okay. So let me talk to you a little bit about this partial pairwise response. Okay. So partial credit works the same way. Okay. And so that information is just repeated, but the partial pairwise per response is all based off of the order that the student has put their answers in. So if you look at this picture right here, the first one, this picture is the correct answer setup, okay? And I've given the partial pairwise response. This picture right here is the student's answer. So you can see that nothing is in the correct order. So they got 0 out of 20 points. Okay. But you'll notice in this picture, they got the 1 goes after, or sorry, 2 comes after 1. And 3 goes after 2. So that is in the correct order. Even though it's not in the correct actual slot of where it's supposed to be, they knew that 1 came before 2 and that 2 comes before 3. So they did get points for that. Okay, so same thing with this picture is that they put 1 and 4 in the correct slots, but they didn't get 2 and 3 in the correct slots, and they're not in the right order. So that part was counted wrong. So you'll see that the student got 16.67 out of 20. Okay, so it's all based off of the order rather than the slots that they're in. And I know that's kind of confusing. So if you need me to go back through it, I can.
But I like it that way because it's good for the student. It gives them credit.
I do too.
Mhm.
I like the partial pairwise because
Mhm.
if the student knows the order and they just get certain things out of the order, they still get points for it, or they still
Yeah.
get that percentage of the points.
Yeah. I
So
like that.
that's why I would prefer the partial pairwise over just partial. And that is only with an ordering question. Okay. Karen, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to let you take over.
Alrighty. Okay. So hopefully I have the right one now. All right. So now we're going to talk about, where am I? let me scroll down to my section. Here we go. So the number line. So in the practice assessment that y'all just took, you saw that you could actually use this number line question for historical events. So as a timeline, you don't necessarily have to do it with math, although that's what it was originally set up for. Is most people think of it for math problems, but you saw that you could actually do a little bit more than that with one of those questions. I'm actually going to go in here and I'm going to go into our assessment real quick here because I want to show you some things that you need to know when you go to set this up. So I'm going to find, let's go to the, well, this was the presidential one. So let's go to that one first. And let's just talk about how you set this up. So with these questions, you have several stages or parts. You have that initial, the question setup, which is where you're going to put the instructions that you're going to give to the students. And then you have your possible responses that you're going to put in here. So you get all of this in here. And then the next part down here is where you start placing your responses into the correct positions. Okay. The other part that you will need to play around with and work on is down here at the bottom under the additional setup option. So I'm going to open this up and let's kind of look at what appears. So you have these things called show the ticks or show ticks. So a tick is each of those little lines that you see right in there. So if you have that turned off, and I'm just going to turn it off for just a second, you're going to notice that they completely disappear off of the grid, which makes it a lot harder. There can be some times that you might not want them to see the ticks. Most of the time you probably will want them to see the ticks. The other one is this snap to ticks. There are some times where you're not going to want them to, so when I put this on here, it means that even if I get it over just a little bit, it's going to bounce it and make it snap right on top of the little tick mark. Like I said, there's going to be some questions where, yeah, you might want to do that. Now, here at the beginning, let me put this on a 1 for just a second. I want you to see what happens. So do you see how jumbled that is? Makes it very hard for the students to read. So if you're doing a historical question as a number line, you got to have to think about this may not be the best place to do it. It may be better to do some of these types of questions in with the that ordering question that Kaylee was showing. But I changed it to 4s because with presidential elections, it's every 4th year, and that made this work out better. So you will have to start, when you go in to do these kinds of questions, you will have to play with some of these settings to get it to look exactly the way you want it to look. Now, when you think back on the math type questions, I'm on not normalized or mixed fractions, but you can change this so that it is going to have mixed fractions, decimals, improper fractions. So with math, this can be a great question for you to use with the ability to change this off of whole numbers to fractions and that sort of thing. Down here at the bottom, if you want to go ahead and put labels on your ticks, you can add them here and separate them with commas. The frequency is kind of based on how many spaces you want between those ticks. And I'll play around with this in just a minute, but like it's on 4s. Oh, wait, right here. So by 1s here is because it's just something you will have to play with on how often you want that frequency of those the ticks and things to show. show first. This is talking about the beginning here. Sometimes, like I added these arrows, they're not automatically set. I think the default is for these to be off. So it would look like this. But if I'm doing a math number line, I may want the kids to know that numbers go beyond 10 or in front of 0. So you may want to add those arrows there as well. It's just something you're going to have to play around with. Now, let me go out of this question. I'm going to cancel this one. And I want to go to, actually, I'm going to add a question. Let me add a number line. And okay. So when I put my little question in here, and I might put a 1 and a 5, 4, and maybe a 2 or 3 there, whatever I'm writing. Okay, so down here, do you see what's happening? There go my dogs. Isn't that hilarious? Now, let me show you something about these ticks down here. Let me open this up. So do you see how I have to set this up? So this one is on a 3. So I could put it there. This correct response threshold, it becomes very critical for you to probably take this off of a 0 when you take off the snap to ticks response. So I'm going to go ahead and just sit these on here just for a minute. And I'm going to show you something when I go to preview. So I'm going to say preview question. So when the kids drag these up, here's what snap to tick means. See how I tried to put it here? It snapped it right over there. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to put this on. And you see, don't worry about this 100 that's showing here. This never shows for the student, but it is showing you. And I'm going to click on show answers. So for the teacher, this is only going to be visible for the teacher as you're creating the question. It is actually showing me that, yes, I did set this question up correctly. Now I'm going to go back to edit this question. And this time I'm going to come down here and I'm going to turn off snap to ticks. And I want to show you now when I try to do this one, watch what happens. I'm going to try to put it on that 4. And do you see how it looks like I'm on that 4? But it's hard to get, because what Schoology actually does is it's counting by actual pixels. Okay, so it is going to be pretty darn hard for the kids to get these in the exact spot when you don't change this part right here, this correct response threshold. Now, if I put a 1 in here, I want to show you what's going to happen when I try to do this one. So I'm going to, I'm grabbing the wrong one. So when I put the 3 here, but look what it did. It gave me it counted that one correct, because I put a 1 and it means it's going to count all of this. And I believe it counts all on that side as well. So it's a 1. So let me go back. You're going to have to, like I said, you're going to have to kind of play with this. So I'm going to actually now go to 0.1. And I'm going to go now to preview. And so now watch when I try to put that 3, even though I'm not exactly on it, do you see it's still giving me credit? Now watch when I move it over a little bit, but it counted it wrong there. So you just have to kind of play with that threshold there on these questions. Now you don't have to worry about it if you leave the snap to ticks on, but that would be way too easy if I had these little numbers. And then down here where it's counting by 1s, let me put a 0 here and see what happens. All right, this would make it a lot harder for my little first graders, because I have it counting with 0s there. So from this to this, it didn't put any numbers there. You see how different that is. So now it makes it a little better for my little first graders. Now I can actually see if they're actually able to count and recognize where these goes. So this kind of question is one that it has a great potential, but you're going to have to play with it a little bit, especially if you remove this snap to tick. If I don't have the snap to ticks on, I don't have to worry about this right here because it's going to go exactly there. But if you take this off, and there are some times, like in this question right here, I really don't want the ticks on there. Well, maybe on this one I would, but there are some times when I would not want them on. But I still want the kids to get credit if they're pretty close to getting it where it goes. Does that make sense? I think Kaylee and I saved the hardest questions for the very last night, but they do have a lot of potential. It's just you're going to have to play with them just a little bit. All right.
And I would say, Karen, that a lot of people are kind of scared to play with things. You can't break this by playing with it.
No, you cannot break it.
And
That's right.
what your practice course is for you to play and kind of experiment and see what you can and can't do with these question types. And I also want to reiterate, because we talked about this last time, is that just because this is an assessment doesn't mean you have to use it for an assessment. These are great independent practices, great for just sometimes even note-taking or just collaborative work.
Yeah, a quick exit ticket just for you to see. You don't even have to give them a grade, but you could do a quick little number line question and see, did they really understand those decimals and fractions and where the numbers live on that? Just a great little exit ticket where you're grabbing some data about your students. And the other thing, when Kaylee mentioned about the practice courses, you're right. Those are, we gave everyone a practice course for you to play in. Add your partner teachers, your fellow teachers to that practice course. And when you're setting up these questions that are a little more difficult, have y'all practice and take the test to see, hey, did this work out? Do you think this is a good question, and that sort of thing? Okay, so I'm back in here. I'm going to cancel out of this one. And the next one that I had was, I really like this highlight text. So I gave you some examples here. Let's just kind of look at this one right here. So with this one, just like the others, there's always that question setup piece, and then you're going to come down and you're going to mark what's right, what's wrong. So I'm going to kind of show you this one so you can see how I set this one up. Now for this one, I just copied and pasted some things in here. On this one, once you get your text in here, you're going to then go to this tab right here called possible responses. And what I did was, when it first popped over, it had every word that I had here highlighted. You see all of these? I wanted them to choose between all of these. But I didn't want to have them start accidentally marking these words up here. But do you see how I'm clicking them now? I'm actually adding them back. I'm going to take them back off because when you first put something in, it selects everything that you put in there. The other thing is you can say, oh, I'm going to highlight paragraphs or by sentences or by words. You can clear those highlights. And then once I had it where I just wanted them to select by these words, then I came down here and I started marking the words that I wanted them to select. Okay. This one's pretty easy. It's a lot easier than that other one that you were seeing, the number line question. And then you can always hit preview, and then like this, you see how it's going to kind of show me. Remember, this does not show for the students. This only shows for the teacher. And see, now I know I got them all right. Oh, I got that one wrong. But that's just for you to see. It's, even though you're in preview, I know some teachers are like, oh, when I hit preview, it's showing me what's right, what's wrong. It doesn't do that for the student view. It's only showing it for you so that you can make sure you've got the question set up correctly. All right. Any questions on the ordering? I know those are, like I said, we were talking this week. We kind of say these harder ones or the a little more time consuming ones towards the end here, but they do have a lot of potential. And as Kaylee mentioned, don't get hung up on the fact that it says assessment. You can use it for any type of grading or not even grading, just to do a quick little data grab where you're trying to make sure they understand something. All right. How are we doing? I'm going to stop.
We have 5 minutes left. So do you want to show the Padlet and have them fill out the Padlet, and then we can draw for prizes?
So let me share the screen again. Let me get back on here. All right. So that's right. So go back into that course. Oops, let me go this one. Cancel this out. In the course, we have a few minutes. I'm going to go back in here. We did put another Padlet in here. So while we're getting the wheel ready to spin, if you all will come in, remember you can click this little open, it'll pop it out off, it'll pop it off of Schoology, or you can actually type inside here. But if you want it larger, you can actually pop it out. But why don't y'all go ahead while we're getting the prize spin ready. Y'all fill out how you could use these questions in your classroom. So let me go to the Padlet real quick. There it is. I'm gonna pop it out for just a second. Y'all can still see my screen, right? So we see some great, there goes my phone. Ooh, I love highlighting mistakes. I like the highlight text is great for any kind of grammatical things that you want them to look for. EL students, for vocabulary, great job there. The timeline. Ooh, I like that for fractions and ordering. Oh, I like that. Yep, the number line and I love all these ideas. These are great.
Yeah, we've got some great ideas in here.
Okay. All right. Well, it is 1 minute to go. I can't believe we actually got through it all. Kaylee and I have been kind of sweating it this week, thinking that we might not get to cover it all. All right. So Kaylee, what did you say? We had 5 or 6? Can't remember.
I believe we have 6.
6. All right. All right, well, we're going to spin, and then Kaylee and I will stay on for a little bit longer to answer any questions if anybody wants to stay on with us, and then we can check that ordering as well. All right, so I'm going to spin. Here goes our first one. We're going to see, we have 19 people on there, I think. Oh,
oh my God.
Is she still on here? Where is Clancy?
Clancy, are you here?
I'll take it for her if she's not there.
She's got to be.
I'm here. I couldn't find my unmute button. Yay!
Okay, so Clancy got it.
Hey, so if you ever can't find your unmute button, you just hold down the space bar.
I tried that, but then it opened a different window.
Oh, that's, yeah, okay. Well, we got Clancy down. All right, so here we go. That's hilarious.
Come on, Kristen. Oh.
All right, Tina.
At Island, awesome.
Did you get that down?
Yes,
right.
I did.
So let me go to the next one. Did you, Cedra, did you fill out the, Cedra, did you fill out the prize, the Hold on, let me look and see.
I see it now. I see it.
Oh, you see it? Okay, good. All right. Oh, who was the last one? Did we get that name down?
Yes, it was Kelly from Shindelwolf.
Okay,
I think she's won before. Oh,
Josilia, right? Josilia?
Thank you.
Hey, you've won before too, right?
I
Yeah.
think this is her third time.
Is this your
Right?
Yay.
third? Ooh, you've caught up with Thomas.
This is our last one.
All right, let's see what happens.
Woo! Thank you.
I almost didn't have to share.
Thanks, Clancy.
Karen.
Okay, so Wendy
Wendy, where are you?
and Thomas, I don't understand what
Can I-
happened.
Or CAC now.
Karen.
Where's Wendy? I'm sorry.
Right here. I'm at Annex or CAC now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Karen.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Y'all changed your name, didn't you?
All right.
Okay.
Karen. Karen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Go ahead and spin again. I've won twice. Let somebody else get a chance.
Oh, no. We've got lots of repeaters in here.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Okay,
Thomas has
thanks.
won 3 times,
Okay.
so you get to keep your prize.
All righty.
You get to keep it. All right. So you and Thomas are tied for the number of times that people have won. But remember, next time we do have one next week, right?
Yes, we have one on rubrics next week.
Rubrics. That's going to be
All
a
right, good.
good one.
That's going to be
Is it
real
gonna be-
good.
Is it going to be on a Tuesday?
It is going to be
Yes,
on
it's
Tuesday.
always
It's
on a
Okay,
Tuesday.
Yep. Next Tuesday, we'll talk about rubrics and we'll go over how you use them, how you set them up, and we will show you where we already have a whole bunch of already created rubrics for you to use.
Well, thank you, ladies.
All right. Well, thank
Thank
you very
you.
much for coming, and hopefully we'll see you all again next week. Next week we're not on assessments, but we're going to be talking about rubrics.